Wowee, this is an amazing episode. I have an amazing guest named Myke Dixon chatting to me, and we are talking about how you can totally change the way you think about team conferences, team events, and team retreats, and how you can totally transform what happens in them and what happens on the back of them as far as the performance, the engagement, and all the things with your team. So dive in. This is an amazing episode that you are going to love. Myke Dixon is here to save the world from boring work, bland events, and beige bosses. He's a jazz musician by trade, and he's an award-winning speaker, an award-winning author, and a recognized authority when it comes to creativity, culture, and the human future of work. He's a regular speaker at and puts on conferences for a huge number of Fortune 500 and ASX 200 listed companies. And in that regard, he's really leading the way for forward-thinking companies to lead their people differently. And that's exactly why I have invited him onto the podcast today to talk about what all the entrepreneurs listening need to be doing and thinking about to engage their people to be the best, most creative, and most innovative, best performing versions of themselves. So a very big warm welcome to you, Myke. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Paula. I am thrilled to be here.
You are amazing, obviously. And anyone that's followed you on socials or spent more than like 5 minutes in your company can attest to the energy that you have and what you bring to the table, which is so unique and so infectious. Can we start there? What do we need to know about you and your background and your story to help us understand you and the amazing person you are today?
It's a beautiful question. And pumping up my tires first thing is the best thing that you could ever possibly do, because I don't think about that enough. And maybe that's something we can explore later, is the narrative that we have. You know, maybe we all need to read our own bios every morning into the mirror, make ourselves feel special.
Absolutely.
So I am a muso by trade. I studied jazz. I very early on was always into the arts and to theatre and music and dance and poetry. And it stole my heart very early on as a child, and I never let go of it. I was fortunate to have parents that were very supportive of that. Got in lots of trouble at school, did all of the things that artists and rock stars and musos do. But there was something about the way that music could affect people and the way that music could create an atmosphere, an environment, a culture instantaneously. And inside of that, people could have a very unique, personalized experience with this shared kind of medium, this shared stimulus. So you could go to a live gig and everyone's having their own unique experience, and yet we're all having it collectively. Something about that just really fascinated me and drew me in. So I'd run events, and I would not just write and record music, but I would throw events and festivals and touring and stuff. I would travel around the world a lot. I ended up buying a beach bar in Cambodia by accident, built a guest house. Again, I would draw people into this guest house, on the beach in the sand in the Gulf of Thailand, and bringing people together to connect, to have meaningful conversations, to throw parties and nights. There was something about that I found fascinating. Came back to Australia. It's a long story, but ended up back here and got my first ever job as a 34-year-old, I think, where I was a community manager at a tech startup and an innovation space. And my role was to get businesses, startups to work more effectively together. I was kind of I used to call myself the cultural architect. So again, it was bringing people together and to create spaces and atmospheres and environments where they could have, create relationships, and even direct competitors could go on to be more creative and innovative together. People started saying, love what you've got to say, Myke. Do you want to come and talk to our team? Do you want to come and talk at our conference? And then I realized, wow, there's a whole industry around this, and then started to build a thought leadership practice, wrote a couple of books, go around the world doing conferences and events, leadership programs, culture change programs. I use the arts a lot, both for content, but also for the delivery of my message. And it's a very powerful medium. And I think that we need more of it in the corporate world and just in our life in general, particularly in Australia. And I love it. I have a wild time meeting all these beautiful people and bringing bands into corporate spaces and throwing funky parties and stuff.
Love. Because my next question was, well, what do we need to be doing at conferences and team events and all the things to be making them, the best they can be? And is your secret ingredient like bring music?
One of, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we get into the weeds just for kicks, lighting, music, the physical space, the environment is so important and so powerful. If we think of business events stereotypically, crappy room, low ceiling, fluoro light, no music or very low, the audio's crap, boring seating arrangements, everything's tired, stale, predictable. So in that very practical sense, yes, music is really important. And live music. I mean, I bring bands to events and people go, God, it's just brings this vibrancy and this vitality, this
Oh, wow.
energy. And I said, I know. There's a whole lot of musos out there. There was a big bit of research done late last year and a topic of conversation culturally in Australia that musicians' average income, a full-time musician, is around $20,000 a year and has been for a number of years. And I know that quite well. That's hence why I branched out into a different career.
Yeah.
But there are so many talented, that I would say equal to brain surgeons in the amount of hours they've given to their craft and the technical capability that they have, and they're ready to play. Why doesn't every corporate business entrepreneurial event have a violinist, a four-piece band, a jazz combo, a Brazilian guitarist? It doesn't matter. So yes, music and stuff like that. But I would say more than that, even going back before those kind of technical things, thinking about lighting, thinking about space, thinking about sound, is what's the purpose? Why are you getting people together? And even beyond that, why do people come together anyway? Why do we gather? And a huge answer to that is to connect with other people.
Mm.
So, I mean, they're starting to get a lot more momentum around this as a conversation, which is great. A couple of really, people have broken through globally in terms of bringing a different conversation around how we connect and gather at events. But we still prioritize content. We still focus on, okay, who are the speakers we need, or what's the things we need them to learn, or what is the information that I need to allay to these people. That's secondary, if not tertiary. The first thing you should be thinking is, how can I connect these people to themselves, to each other, to the potential of, this community or this organization or this brand or this product, whatever it is, just connection, connection, connection. So if you start there and ask yourself a bunch of questions around how are we connecting people, then I think you're in a good place to do something exciting.
Mhm. Amazing. And I think that certainly many of the events that I've seen you run and have heard about, I guess through that connection piece, you've managed to crack people wide open. And from there, the gold happens for the business. So do you want to sort of talk about some of your experiences or maybe what you've watched? Because I think it's probably fair to say you've worked with some companies that could have run pretty vanilla beige events and probably have had quite a different experience. So can you kind of talk as specifically as what's appropriate about, we did this, this is the outcome, this is what it looked like, and this is how they knew it was a huge success?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say 70% of events that I would do would be in a pretty dry, a pretty stereotypical conference center with banquet seating or theater or whatever it is, and the table mints and the stale water that's been there for 6 months and all of the things. A lectern with too many slides or too many words on every slide, all of that stuff. But there are moments in every event, certainly when I'm involved in them. And it's these moments of connection, of someone's humanity coming through, whether it's someone on stage where people connect. There's a vulnerability, there's an authenticity, there's a humanity that just transcends, it cuts straight through all of the, posturing or the political nature of it or the optics or the I'm here with this polished presentation. There are moments that's when it comes alive. The energy shifts in the room. Someone says something they weren't supposed to, or someone shares something that's not, professional. It's actually more personal, and everyone immediately leans in and goes, oh, and that you can engineer that. And I've been, that's certainly what I've become quite masterful at doing.
Mm.
And there are ways of doing that. Again, going back to music, lighting, space, the invitation, the entry, how people walk in, what's the first thing that happens to them. And then how you are. If I'm hosting, if I'm doing a keynote, that's different to if I'm hosting a whole day. If I'm the MC, there's a lot of techniques in how to get people to open up. But a lot of it comes down to, if we can go there, Paula,
Let's.
the energy of who you are and your intention and your capacity as the host. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the one on stage, but if you're the one that's throwing this event, if you're the one that is running this event, if your intention is to move people, is to inspire them, is to connect them, is to give them an experience that they can't articulate, that they will find it hard to tell their husband, wife, friend, colleague, partner, oh, what'd you do yesterday? Oh my God, it's this event. I can't even, it was just something about it. It was amazing. Oh, what was amazing about it? I don't know. It was just something. Oh, that's what you're aiming for. And if you set that intent as opposed to, I want XYZ standard, we want this many signups, or we want this many engagement score, or we want them to know that they've really got the strategy moving forward. I mean, you can have all that stuff, sure, but if your energy is like, I am here to craft an experience for you, you can trust me, you're safe with me, the purpose of this is deeper. And that doesn't mean that you need to name that and be upfront about that, but it's in your being, then that is a powerful tool for beginning the process of creating an experience that is a lot different to most events.
I love that. As a speaker and somebody who's gone into heaps of conferences myself, the number of times I've been, booked or invited to come in and do a topic. And I always want to have a conversation with the person about what's the purpose of it, tell me about who's going to be in the room, how are they feeling right now? What are we trying to achieve by this? Where do we want them to be at the end of the session? Blah, blah, blah. And what's fascinating to me is sometimes there's resistance to that conversation. And what I realize is, to your point, they're just wanting to tick a box because they've put on this 2-day conference because they feel like they need to, and they're trying to fill a spot, and they just want me to just come in and talk about, conversations or whatever it is. And they're actually potentially skipped over actually what's their intention in the first place of bringing everyone together. So I guess I'd love everybody just to think about that. It's like shifting our thought process around having a conference or a retreat because you think you should, because you owe it to your team and maybe you promised it in an interview, to actually like, why we're doing this and what is your genuine purpose, and then coming from that place and then having that conversation. And what I also heard you saying was like moments of connection is that turning point for a lot of people. And again, I think from my experience, consulting and working with business for 14 years, I think a lot of people think that moment of connection is going to come at the bar later. Yes, but it can also come at other times, it sounds like.
And it does. Well, yeah, exactly. This is the point. Like, it comes at the bar. Why wait? You could even, I mean, this is a bigger conversation, but personally, how I like to run my events is that moment of connection happens 6 weeks before the event. So then you are building rapport, you are connecting your guests, you are creating a context, you are establishing there's a universe that these people will enter into and that they already have. So that 9 a.m. they're sitting in their seat. The event began 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
They're ready to go. They are primed. They are open. There's something interesting, unique, different, transformational is about to happen. It doesn't take 90 minutes to warm them up because, yeah, and it's certainly not at the bar, the last thing that they feel, because what a missed opportunity. I literally just got off a session before talking with you where it was about 60 people. As a program I'm running at a big corporate here in Australia. And it's a secret society that I'm building in one of these companies of cultural kind of advocates and evangelists and transformative emerging leaders. And it's just forming. So this is the second year this program has been running. And so it's the new cohort. We did an offsite and a beautiful dinner. And now this is the first online masterclass. And I really created the session like, cool, we're building foundations the next 9-10 months. We're together in this. Let's not rush to all the things we're going to do. Let's just take our time getting to know one another. We're going to do some, speed sharing. Why are you here? What are you up for? Rah, rah. Put them in the breakout groups, just one-on-ones. Bring them back. Do you want to go again? Yep. Okay, here's more people. Bring them back. Do you want to go again? Yep. Bring them back. Do you want to go again? Yep. So 4 times. This is self-selecting. I was giving them the opportunity to drive their own, online event experience. Would you like to keep connecting with people and building relationship? Yes. So you could say, using an old mindset, wow, what did you do in that 2-hour masterclass? It sounded like people were just chatting and getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably one of the most effective virtual masterclasses they've ever been on.
Yeah.
Because they just want the time in their day. They want the time in their calendar. They want the time in their life where it's not just tolerated or okay or tucked in or squeezed in the edges. It is front and center. You are allowed to connect with another human being right now.
Yeah.
And would you like to do more of it? Yes, please. Well, here's some more space. I'm giving you space and time and freedom to do it. And they're just like, oh, how refreshing.
Love.
Yes,
absolutely. Because I'm thinking back to like all the negativity that I've heard over the years about, oh, he or she's too chatty. That sort of thing, like in the office vibe, if you can imagine, like, that person's not as productive as they could be because they're too busy chatting. Whereas actually what you've just said is actually we need to shift our thinking to actually valuing the chatty because of the benefits that come from it. I've read, I can't quote the person, but, there's so much research on the need for psychological safety to be able to perform. And that comes from knowing somebody, whether it's a personal connection or understanding them, feeling understood. So I guess you're facilitating that through some sort of team event,
Yeah.
which then allows people to shine.
This is the juicy stuff. So the Aristotle project was Google's big research project they ran about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And they were going to find out what are the secrets to a high performing team. So they did, it was 18 months of research. They did big teams, small teams, high tenure teams, newly formed teams, teams on the front line, teams in the exec level, rah, 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 rah. What are the elements? And the number one predictor of a successful, sustainable, high performing team was psychological safety. And then the number one predictor of accelerating psychological safety or trust is the courage to be vulnerable. And that vulnerability comes when we're spending time with one another, sharing not our professional perfections and keeping up that pretense, but actually our humanity. I spilled sauce on my jeans. Oh, whoops. I did that yesterday. Bang. We've just started to build some psychological safety. And it's everything that's apparently wrong and you shouldn't do. And yet we don't allow time for that or space for that. And this is what I talk about today, actually, on this masterclass. But you would accelerate if organizations didn't allow, again, or tolerate, or, I suppose we can give them half an hour every 3 weeks for them to like socialize or something. No, as a strategy, as a commercial strategy, if your people get to know one another, what are your unique skills and capabilities? What's your expertise and experience before you were working in this role? What are some of the secret talents, gifts, passions that you have? If I know that about you and about the other 70 people in my team or organization, the speed with which I can make decisions, knowing that, oh my God, you got to talk to Paula. Oh, you're hiring? Wow, she's absolutely, there's no one, no, I'm just doing it right now. But that person could go for 6 months struggling with hiring because I don't know that Paula's secret talent is helping people hire and fire and, do the amazing recruitment stuff. Because I don't know the people around me because I've never had the chance to actually get to know them. So events, and this is, we're getting into some juicy stuff now. And I see post-COVID and coming back to the office, all these businesses are talking about how we got to get back to the office. And we've got to drag our people back. We used the time, the lockdowns, to like refurb our new building, and we spent 500 million on it. And rah, rah, rah. Why now we're going to mandate they come back in 5 days a week? Sure, okay, fine. But if you're going to do that, what I've seen is that 95% of businesses that have done that, people come in, they sit on a shared desk, or they find themselves a meeting room, and they're on Teams or Zoom all day. So it's exactly what they could do at home. And everyone knows it's ridiculous and pointless. And let's put on a fancy lunch then, or let's have, the leaders do a town hall in the office. That'll get people in. That won't get people in. It's ridiculous. Why don't we actually go, right, well, for 1, 2, 2.5 days a week, let's not even take the laptop into work. Let's fully connect with other people. Let's work on stuff, post-it note, the walls. Let's draw, let's play, let's create, let's strategize. Let's get customers in. Let's talk to them. Let's have a studio in there and we get band practice in as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's the opportunities, the possibilities are so ripe right now for something extraordinary. And we're defaulting back to, no, you've got to be in the office. And also we've got a new AI tool that's going to watch you while you work so we know you're not slacking off. And also you're going to be on Teams all day. And then we do our once a year company offsite. We do our event. And it's the same thing we've done for 17 years. And it costs us 500 grand.
Certainly. And we jam too much in.
Yeah.
We don't facilitate a safe way to connect. And I guess that's probably what you've just said as well. I feel like, wow, like this is actually everyone's responsibility to make sure the connections are being formed in a way that's safe as well, which isn't always at the bar. Sometimes it is, but it's not for everybody as well. So whereas if we can bring that to the front of the day or actually make that our purpose, then actually we're supporting people to connect, which will then support them to open up, and everything kind of flows from there, as opposed to, crossing our fingers and hoping it'll happen over dinner or whatever.
100%. And even thinking that, there's people that love people. There's people that are connectors, and there's me.
Yeah.
That's just, no, this should be a fundamental skill like riding a bike, writing your name, learning to drive a car. Green means go, red means stop. And here's some interpersonal skills in how to connect with another human being in a meaningful, safe, beautiful way. Actually, before you work for our organization, we're going to put you on a 3-month training program where you just learn how to be a good human and connect with other people. And then we're going to talk about the technical skills that, we hope you bring to this business.
Mm.
What a world we would have.
Absolutely. And I guess exactly, like not everybody is a natural connector. So by facilitating that, and for everybody listening, if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know how to put on someone, I don't know how to create these connections and facilitate this. I just know how to sort of stand up the front and teach, which is or inspire or lead or whatever, then actually like that's the person you're bringing in.
Yeah.
So when you're setting your agenda, you're going, right, who do I have first up? Who's going to facilitate the connection piece, for example?
Yeah.
And then now that we've opened our hearts, what do I want to do? What do we
This.
need to learn at the end? Or maybe the learning's the second day, etc. So when you're actually looking at your run sheet, so to speak, if you don't feel comfortable, playing a game or facilitating it or whatever it is, and you think, oh,
Yeah.
cringe, then that's who we bring in.
Yeah.
And that's Myke, not
Yeah.
me.
Brilliant.
just for
Yeah, that's
clarity.
right. I was just about to say. So I'll go first. Paula goes second. That's your event. That's all you need. It's really interesting you say that. And I mean, as we're all business owners, I'm sure many of your audience are business owners, not working for big companies. Some, I know many are too. But you're always trying to think, oh, okay, what's my edge? How do I differentiate? I know we were talking about that earlier. And it always, what's that one thing that I can focus on? And it was about 2 years ago when we were coming back from COVID, that became really obvious to me that events needed not an MC. Well, I think this is an MC role, but most MCs I know, unfortunately, hopefully they don't listen to this. I don't think that they're very good at this. I think that they get stuck on logistics. There's the bathrooms. Here's the sponsors. Here's the run sheet of the day, a really daggy gag and a silly icebreaker. And then they introduce the first speaker. That's not good enough. It doesn't work. It's pointless and a waste of money as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
What you need is, to your point, the first keynote shouldn't be the big famous fancy person or someone impressive. It should be someone that really knows how to create a context and make people feel like they're, oh, this is why we're here. This is how I can and am supposed to behave while I'm here. This is what's expected of me. This is how we're going to get the most out of it, because I am an active participant in this experience. I am co-creating it. I am not just a passive audience member. And so for a while I was like, I'm not a keynote speaker. I'm a context speaker, which sounds kind of cool and funky, but it didn't really catch on at the time. But it was something that I think that there's a lot to be said for giving audiences, because we're in this, like we all need to be re-educated in this. The people running events, the people delivering events, the people on stage at events, the people sitting in the audience at events. Like we need to completely evolve and reimagine all of our roles if we're going to get the most out of this. It's not just going to be the person that runs them that's going to change this industry. We all need to kind of be on board with this, but there's so much potential in having someone at the start of an event give people the right signals to say, hey, this is what we're going to do today. Do you want to test it? Let's try this. So then people are like, wow, I'm ready to go. It's really powerful stuff.
Love. Okay. So do you think that it's not happening at the moment just because everybody is on the hamster wheel and we're just busy and we're just getting it done? That's certainly what I see. I guess I also want to acknowledge and respect the people who are sitting in that position, because it's like, it's great that you're putting something on. We totally get it. And there's opportunity to like get such a bigger bang for your buck.
Yes. And 100% couldn't have said it better. When you were sharing earlier as well, like a lot of the time with these events, it gets thrown to the EA or it gets pushed onto the people team. It gets, we've got to do our conference. We haven't done one in a while. And we've got a new strategy. We've got to roll it out. And we'll get Sandra to pull it together. And poor Sandra's never run an event or did 3 years ago and was the most stressed that she's ever been, because she was staying up till 3 a.m. trying to book flights and figure out attendee lists, and they wanted an app and she'd never it's just horrible putting these poor people in this position to do this stuff. So yeah, it's not fair. And at the same time, if you're going to do an event, a small event, 10 people, you're going to do a lunch, or you're going to do something for 1,000 of your customers, or you're going to have tickets and try and sell them, or you're going to do something internally to inspire and lift the spirits of your staff. Whatever it is, if you are choosing to do an event, if you want bang for your buck and ROI, focus on, okay, how can we think about this differently? That doesn't mean spending a fortune on a neon sign that says disrupt and having that on stage. It doesn't mean spending half the budget on the swag bag that people leave with. It's just going, cool. Is there someone we could engage? Or is there a book? Or is there some information? Or how do I get Mykel Dixon's number? Whatever it is, the return on investment for you will be exponential if you go, let's try and do this differently this time. Because your audience will be so grateful. They'll be like, hey, I love that you did this. And if you're open and like, yeah, and we're trying to do something different. We want to hear from you. We're not going to take it personally if things didn't work. And we're in this journey with you together. We want to partner and deliver an amazing experience with you. We're going to experiment with some things. People are, in my experience, very generous and warm in going, yeah. I mean, hey, there might have been a few moments that didn't work, but I think there's a lot of people. We want more of that. Yeah, that was great. Incredible.
I love that because a lot of people talk about the war for talent and how we attract great people and how we retain them and, being an employer of choice. Whereas actually just slowing down in one of these moments and pausing and thinking about, I've heard you saying, thinking about the purpose, thinking about how do we foster connection, who do we need to make it happen? So, maybe you as the entrepreneur are like, yeah, I'm going to go and set the context for the day. Awesome. If not, doesn't mean you don't do it. Who do you bring in? And then designing it from there. All these things are going to have the right people wanting to knock on your door and come and work with you. So I love that.
Couldn't agree more. And like the EVP stuff, so an employee value proposition, employer brand, it's becoming, it's huge already. But it is, people are in a market where there's lots of restructuring and lots of redundancies. You'd think, oh, it doesn't really matter. People should be happy with their job. No, people are getting even pickier and even choosier, particularly the people that are very, very good at what they do. And it's not just about these obvious perks, I want blah, 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 blah. It is like, what is the experience that they get working at your company? And that doesn't mean big, fancy, expensive lunches and flown around your sales team and rah, 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 rah. But if there are these consistent touch points where people feel connection, where people feel like, this is cool, this is fun, this is interesting, my life is richer as a result of working at this company, because every 4 weeks we do this, potluck, and we do it at someone's house, and it costs the company $500. It's nothing, whatever it is, but there's something beautiful and meaningful about the way that we bring our people together or our customers together. What a competitive advantage in terms of being able to say to people, so why would I work for you? Well, I know we don't pay as much as blah, 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 but we do this and we do that. And our teams have gone and run with it. And now we have this and we also do that. And it's like, you know what? I want to work somewhere like that. I don't mind taking 15, 10, 20 grand, I don't know, less a year, because I want my life to be richer as a result of that. And that comes from an event. If we're just for kicks, because that's the purpose of this podcast, is to talk about events, the power. There are a few things in life that really linger, that can strike a chord in you, that, it starts to then shape who you are, your identity, the way you see and perceive yourself and the world around you. Yeah, music can be that, meeting the love of your life, having your heart broken, something crazy and wild. But an event, an experience. There's a term called collective effervescence, which was popularized a long time ago. I can't remember the name that came up with it, but it talks about, like, if you think about these revival churches, gospel bands playing, or a Tony Robbins event, or Taylor Swift concert, or Coldplay, where there's a large group of people that are having this highly personal experience, and yet it's in the collective. There's this effervescence, there's this spark. I love to do that and create that. And I think that's why people rave about my events. It's something that you can't put your finger on it. But I'll run into people and they'll say, an event I did 7 years ago, and they'll say, oh, Myke, I still remember that day. And, I still remember the people that I met on that day. If you create an event that becomes an experience that gifts someone a transformation, they will remember you, your team, your company, your brand forever. They won't remember the swag. They won't remember, even necessarily, they won't remember the pay rise, but they'll remember the experiences that they got to share whilst at your company.
Love that. And I guess that can happen in a small group just as much as it can happen in a massive group as well. Love. Myke, so much goodness there. I have heard you say decide your purpose,
Mm.
be really intentional about your event, set the context and make sure that's upfront, create psychological safety
Mm-hmm.
through connection, focus on connection, make time for it, lots of time, probably
Mm-hmm.
10 times more than what you think you need.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be perfect. Just try something and be open to it being a mistake and know that your team will forgive you
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to be different. Is there anything else that you want to leave everybody with, or any sort of words or advice that you want to say to kind of, really inspire all the people listening to go and put something on that truly bonds their team and in turn will give them the reward through performance and connection and
Mm-hmm.
all the things that they're looking for from their people?
Yes, I have so much to say. Think about what you love. Start there. And if it's been a while since you've been to an event that you've loved, then that's something to think about. But start with like, man, what do I need? I know when oh God, life is busy. The kids, you got stuff, cost of living, interest rates, like it's intense. And then every now and then I'll actually go, all right, I think we've just got to go, honey. We've got to go to this thing. And then you get there and you're like, we've got to do this more. Oh, we've really got to make sure that we go out and see more theater, and we've got to go out for dinner more and all this stuff. As soon as you get there, it's like life happens. This is what your people and your audience is waiting for you to do.
Mm,
They are craving it. They might look busy. They might look overwhelmed. They're probably burnt out. We all are. But to gift them an opportunity, to invite them to something, they might not always say yes. And they might show up a bit exhausted and burnt out, and it might take a while for them to, settle in. That's okay too. We're living in pretty wild times.
yeah.
But that gift of a third space or a fourth or a fifth space somewhere else that's not their regular routine, that's not all the stuff they're used to, where they get to go and experience something fresh, new, different, creative, exciting, fun. There's no downside, and maybe you get a few people that are like, nah, fine, it's not for them. But the vast majority of people, in my experience, I can promise, will be so grateful. I sent an email out yesterday to a group of my friends that I know from different networks, and I titled the email, "A Party Will Fix Everything." And then, or everybody knows a party will fix everything. And then I didn't even write hello. I just wrote, so I feel like for the last couple of years, I've been wanting to get you all down here and do this and da 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 da. And it's just time and da da da. And spring is about to, hit us. And here's some dates. I'm in Geelong now. So I was saying to these, they're all in Melbourne. You can sleep on the floor. We've got the spare room. We've got my kids' room. I'll ship the kids off to mum's. And there's 2 other rooms. I mean, these are all like adults, 40s, 50s, 60s. But, come on down. And if that doesn't work, there's a couple of great little spots nearby. Or we get you a limo from the city. We bring you down. You leave before midnight with a goodie bag for the drive home. Whatever.
Yeah.
I got 5 responses within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Normally when you try and organize things or da da da, it's like, oh God, they still haven't got back to me, or did they even get the email, or this or that.
Yeah.
But to receive like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need. Yes, I just want to go and see this group of people that I love and I never get to see anymore. We're going to drink some wine. We're going to eat some cheese. We're going to talk about our lives.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
That is the approach. Daisy agrees with me, the dog. That is, your people want that. They're craving for it. Have that mindset and gift them a party.
Yeah.
Give them an experience.
Love. Gift them a party. Even just thinking of it like a gift. It's not necessarily, we're not trying to achieve X by the end of the day. We're just going to give people the gift of connection, the gift of coming together, and just sort of, to a certain extent, relax on the outcomes and let them look after themselves. Love, love, love. Love talking to you today. Could talk to you forever, but we'll wrap it up there. Where can everybody listening connect with you, come and follow you, learn more? Where should they go?
LinkedIn and a little bit of Instagram. I'm going to start firing up my socials again. I've been a little quiet of late doing other things. But yeah, and the newsletter as well. I'm going to fire that back up as well. So you can find that on the website, but LinkedIn's a good place to start.
Amazing. I'll obviously put all that below this in the show notes. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been so beautiful to talk to you. You're a legend.
You're the best. Thanks, Paula.